I am responsible for introducing our awesome keynote. But before we do that, I just wanted to take a minute and to thank Mel for all the hard work that she's done to make today's conference happen. So Mel's been working really hard for the last couple of months to put all of this together and bring you all these great sessions. And so I just wanted to say thank you and make sure she knows how much we all appreciate all of her hard work. So with that, let's get moving. So I am really excited to have the privilege to introduce you to this year's keynote speaker. So Drew and I go way back to 2007 when I was an RHD in Hendrix College, and Drew was on campus for an interview. When she came on board as the RHD in Tuscanini, we were in the same duty rotation, and so we spent a lot of time together. Drew and I learned a lot about each other, and I learned that Drew is really passionate about a lot of things. Harry Potter, cats, two of my personal favorites, but also about knowing yourself and what you stand for. And if I had to pick one word to describe Drew, it would be authentic. Drew's professional career has taken a few turns since leaving Stony Brook. She's currently the community engagement specialist at Rotary International, where she works to create connections and strengthen relationships. I personally can't think of anybody better to do this kind of work because Drew just brings people together naturally. Drew also presents on topics such as healthy relationships, gender identity, and how to create safe spaces through inclusive language and behaviors. In her free time, she likes to ride her bike Apollo. She likes to run, a little weird, but she does. She loves playing board games and exploring nature. I could spend hours talking about how wonderful I think Drew is, but I'm gonna probably let you find out for yourselves. So at this time, I am honored to turn things over to our keynote speaker, Drew.
Thank you. Melissa, that was awesome. And also weird that I just called you Melissa, because that's you're definitely Scooch, always and forever. All right, let me share my screen here. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Boop. Let's go with here. You guys get to see behind the scenes. Okay. Can you see which screen are you seeing? Just for the record.
Everything.
You're seeing everything. All
Yeah.
right.
Your sneaky notes we see.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let's see. What are you seeing now?
Your presentation. You're good.
All right. Okay, so now it's going to be a little bit, we're going to go with this. It's going to be a little bit weird because all my notes are on now this side. So you guys get to see my good side pretty much the entire presentation. So thank you all for bearing with me and for bringing me here and to do this, because let's just embrace the awkward, right? Like I did a side note, I did a like mini TED talk on the idea of embracing our awkward, because I feel like we're all really awkward in our own in lovely ways, and a lot of times we're scared of that, and so we just kind of like push it down and then hope no one sees it, and it's kind of like, oops, your awkward showing. So like if we're just gonna call it out, let's just call it out, right? So as Scooch said, I am Drew, and I am the Community Engagement Specialist at Rotary International. Have you ever heard of Rotary, anyone? You could just like, raise your hand internally, I guess. And if you have, I'm guessing that you've got a certain picture of Rotary. Maybe it's your grandpa's Rotary, or like a pancake breakfast, or like maybe it's a scholarship that you got at some point. Usually people tell me that they think of Rotary and they think of old, white, straight, rich dudes, right? And that has been our story for kind of a long time, and I'm working to change that. I'm working to build a new platform called Connect, which is going to hopefully bring some new and young and fun voices to the Rotary conversation. Now, as Melissa mentioned, my career journey has been kind of all over the place, but this job seems to be what really fits well with me and fits well with my values and the type of person that I want to be. So I want to talk a little bit about leadership today. Actually, that's not true. I want to talk a lot about leadership, but I've only got like 40 minutes, so I'm going to talk a little bit about leadership. And mostly I want to walk you through some of the things that have been really impactful for me as a person kind of going through these leadership pieces. All right, so it's my understanding that your conference today is about leadership through values. And if that's the case, great. And if it's not, then, well, everyone else has about 45 minutes to change their presentations because I've already started mine. Now, Warren Bennett says, becoming a leader is synonymous with becoming yourself. It is precisely that simple, and it is also that difficult. Truer words, Warren, truer words hit me right here. Listen, I'm 38 and I'm still trying to kind of become the leader that I want to be. In fact, I think that I will still be trying to become the leader that I want to be until the day that I die. But at this point, I also know some kind of whole truths that I know to be true and certain about myself and where I am currently and where I want to go. So let me show you a little bit about my life. This is my life in photos. Now, up on the top left, that's me and my grandma. My grandma is the single most like coolest person on this planet. If I can grow up to be even a fraction of how kind-hearted and supportive and value-driven that she is, my life will be an absolute success. The things that I find really important: gratitude, voting. So by the way, vote this year, and every year, but especially this year, and leading with love, right? I also really enjoy riding my bike, like you guys heard before. I specifically like riding my bike in nature, and I love moments that make me feel small and insignificant. Like when I stand in front of that tree with its roots and I literally lose myself in the idea of being in nature so great and so big and feeling so small. I'm also into playing board games and live music. That Shaky Graves they're playing, if you do not know him, do yourself a favor and get to know him. He's incredible. That photo of a dancing polio virus, that is me dancing with in a polio virus, because Rotary is about eradicating polio, and sometimes I do crazy things for my job and I absolutely love it. Now, speaking of fun and people, that group that you see on the train platform, they are my queer family. They are the people who I love and they love dearly. They are some of my most trusted people on this planet. We hold each other accountable, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them in a little bit. Now, something else that you should know about me: I'm almost always overthinking and I am almost always hungry. Now, since I can't have a snack, even though I would like a snack, you should all eat a snack for me, and we'll go from there. So feel free to grab some popcorn or some jelly beans, or I don't know, snack of choice. I'm going to walk through 10 different tips that I think are kind of crucial and integral when it comes to leadership. Why do I start by telling you about me? Because it's really important to know yourself. It's important to know who we are and where we come from. It is important to know kind of how we operate in the world around us, so that we know how to best interact with the people around us. Now, I want to start by sharing a small personality assessment that I particularly love. I affectionately refer to it as LBOG, mostly because you can either be a lion, a beaver, an otter, or a golden retriever. LBOG. There's a real test that you can take. There's a test that I've adapted, but really when it comes down to it, it comes down to 2 questions. The type of leader that you are is about where you put your focus and how fast you get there, right? So let's start this off. Where's your focus? Is it on task or is it on relationship? Now, I should back up. Everybody close your eyes. Don't worry, I'm going to be here when you come back. Don't worry. That's seriously, I'm not just going to like ditch out in here, right? Close your eyes Imagine that you are the most you that you've ever been. Like, forget about who you're around, what you're doing, who you're with. I know that every situation we're in, we're slightly different versions of ourselves, right? We're a little bit more hyper here, a little bit more low key here. It depends. But for this activity, I want you to think about you as the most you that you've ever been. Okay? Now, are you focused on task, getting stuff done, like crossing to-do items off? Or are you into the relationship, kind of checking in with people? For me, I'm into the relationship. I like checking in with people. That's what makes me feel good at the end of the day, right? Now, what speed do you go? Are you fast tracking, or are you more slow and processy, right? Again, there's no right or wrong answers here. It's just about whether you kind of go through those tasks or relationships quickly, or you go through them kind of methodically and slowly. Okay, put yourself in a quadrant, and here is your animal. If you focus on task and you move quickly, you're a lion. Your greatest strength is moving things forward, but honestly, you kind of come off as kind of a jerk. Just gonna put it out there. Now, if you're an otter, or if you focus on relationship but move quickly, you're an otter, like me. Your biggest strength, if you're an otter, is that you have a lot of energy and you can pump people up, but you have probably zero follow through. If you are focused on task, but you move slowly, you are a beaver. Now, your greatest strength is doing things right. Like, you will absolutely get that thing done correctly, but it may take you literally all day to make one decision, right? And if you move slowly but focus on relationship, you are the golden retriever. Now, your greatest strength is how much you care and invest in people, but you are also a little bit of a pushover. Now, why do all of these things matter? Because knowing your strengths helps you play to your strengths. All right. It provides a quick framework for you, but it also provides a framework for everyone that you interact with. I know that I am 99% otter. Like, when I take the test, I am like otter and then everything else, right? So that means that I'm positively good at making connections and energizing and influencing, but I'm also terrible at staying focused and following through. So it means that I'm like super passionate, but also because I'm so passionate, I can feel really personally attacked when things don't go my way, or somebody gives me like not great feedback in a not great way. Right. So when a lion says you did this task wrong, I'm like, wait, why? I'm so sad. Right. But that allows me to think, well, that person's a lion. They're focused on task. They're not focused on me. It's not about me personally. It's about the project professionally. Right. Now, the other way to use this framework is to read the room. Right. So, for instance, I know that my boss is a golden retriever. I know that her boss is a lion. That means that I interact with them very differently. Brienne, my boss, we talk a lot about feelings. Brian, her boss, those are their real names, Brian and Brienne. It's not confusing at all. Brian, however, I focus way more on what needs to get done and the task at hand, right? So I can give them the information that they need in a way that makes sense to them, and we're not butting heads. So when you can use that framework, you set yourself up for success and you set others up for success as well. Now, how do you use this framework? This is where you can either ask, hey, what do you prefer to focus on? Do you prefer to focus on the task at hand or getting the people involved? And how fast or slow do you like to do that, right? My best friend Patrick, he's really into board games. He was like, hey, how do you like to know how to play board games? Do you like to know how to win, or do you like to know how to play? And I was like, this is the best question anyone's ever asked me, because now you're going to be able to tell me how to play the game or how to win, instead of me being like, I don't really care how we play the game, I just want to know how to win, right? So, or you can use your deductive skills for the folks that you've already worked with. And you can say, I wonder if the reason why I haven't been communicating well with this person is because I'm focused on this and they're focused on this, right? So this all kind of comes into creating your brand. Knowing your strengths, huge piece of that. But knowing your values, even bigger. So it's your values who shape that shape who you really are, right? Your strengths, yes, huge part of who you are, but your values really shape all the things that about you. So let me ask you this big question. What is it that you actually value? I'm not talking about what you like to do. I'm not talking about what you even love to do. I'm talking like at your core, what is it that you value? These core beliefs, these should guide everything that you do, and they should be able to be about like 3 to 5 words that are just like tattooed on your heart. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about values, right? The easiest way that I've ever heard values described is that it's your coffee cup message. Like if you were to have to put the things that you care about most, the things that you value on a coffee mug, what would that coffee mug say? It's small enough that you have to hone it in, but it's cool. It's easy enough for somebody to say, huh, that's interesting. What's on your coffee mug? And then you can kind of take time to explain it, right? So in mine, my coffee mug would read authenticity, positivity, and connection, because those are my top 3 values. And then also a rainbow, because mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the queerest of them all? Me. So when it comes time to put together your coffee mug message, that is truly what your brand is, because all leaders have brands. And if you create your brand, that's a really good thing. But if you don't create your brand, someone's going to create your brand for you, and you don't really want that, right? So what is it that you want to do? Now, I would suggest strongly that once you've created this brand, you use it to the best of your ability. Now, strengths-based leadership says we all lead in very different ways based on our talents and our limitations, but serious problems can occur when we think we need to be exactly like the leaders that we admire. Doing so takes us out of our natural element and practically eliminates our chances of success. Now, there are tons of people that I admire in this world, and there are tons of people that I would really like to be like. But trying to be like them is going to take me out of my personal element. And if I try to sit on stage and do a thing just because my mentor did it, it's not going to look right. It's going to feel fake. And fake people are really hard to get behind, right? So your brand has to be your very own. Now, quick fun story for you. I'm on a group text with some of the people on this call. They shall not be named, but they are here. And one of them sent a text with this image and said, how Cardi are you feeling today? And I responded, I'm unsure. I have my own brand. And then, this is the kicker, one of my friends, who shall not be named, sent this back. And I was like, boom, I do have my own brand, right? How do you know if you're on brand? How do you know if you are doing it, if you are showing your values in the right way? Now, this is pretty cool. You can just ask your friends, because I know that I am doing things right. I happen to know that I'm doing things decently right because Melissa mentioned a lot of things that I really care about and value in that keynote introduction, right? You might not have a keynote introduction that your friend is going to give you, but you can ask your friends, hey, am I on the right direction? What do you think I value? And they will be able to tell you. And if they match, great. And if they don't match, you got some work to do. But at least you know where to start, right? For the record, I'm definitely feeling a 5 today. Now, third thing, be awesome. Sounds easy, is easy. There are 3 A's to awesome: attitude, authenticity, awareness. I would love to think that I came up with this, but I can't take credit. There's a blog out there called 1,000 Awesome Things, and it's by this guy whose name is Neil Pasricha. Now, I came across this via his TED Talk, so you know that his blog is actually pretty legit, right? Because he's got a TED Talk. These awesome things, these 1,000 awesome things, ranged anywhere from 868, which is snow stepping, which is when you're wearing shoes, but the person ahead of you is wearing boots, and then you can just step in their holes that their boots have made and your shoes stay dry, all the way to 311, which is finding out a song that's in a commercial. Now, he talks about these 3 A's of awesome being attitude, authenticity, and awareness. Look, attitude's pretty easy. You know that stuff is going to happen, and it's really your choice of what you want to do and where you want to put that energy. You can focus and like swirl around in your own doom and gloom, or you can decide to move forward. I would recommend that you start to move forward, right? You can be solution focused, or you can just kind of get sucked into the negative energy. Push yourself into that solution focused attitude. Then you've got authenticity. Now, we kind of talked through this a little bit, but I think authenticity is 2 things: know yourself and be yourself. Now, I'm going to be vulnerable here for a second and tell you how big of a nerd I am and let you know that I play Pokemon Go. And I'm a little bit obsessed with this. So in Pokemon Go, you're supposed to like catch these creatures, right, in the ball. And there are sometimes some really challenging ones. And so sometimes I say out loud, you got 2 jobs, dude. Get in the ball, stay in the ball. Doesn't always work. But sometimes I think just a little extra encouragement helps. I'm an otter, after all. So 2 things for you: know yourself and be yourself. Those are the keys to authenticity. Like, we trust people who are real, and we trust people when they're feeling their best self. And when you're feeling your best self, you're feeling confident and energized and inspired. And that is the you that you want to bring when you're being a leader. Last piece, awareness. Now, Neil says, he asks a question in his TED Talk: have you ever been to a baseball game? Yeah, probably most of us have, right? Remember when we could go to baseball games? Isn't that weird? I don't either. Have you ever been to a baseball game with a 3-year-old? Going to a baseball game with a 3-year-old is amazing. You look around, you look at them, and they're experiencing everything for the first time. It's like the sights, the smells, the everything. And he says, embrace your inner 3-year-old. See everything around you like you're seeing it for the first time. That is what creates this true connection. That is what takes you from going through the motions of all of the days to really feeling it and understanding it and getting and just pulling that connection out of thin air, right? That is what inspires other people. When you can have the awareness to say, this is what's going on and these are the people that we need to put together, that's really powerful. So, in short, awesome. Just be it. The end. No, I'm just kidding. There's more. I told you there was 10. We're only on 4. Come on. Building your team. Now, I told you I was going to talk to you a little bit about my queer network a little bit more, right? Just checking time. As awesome as you are, you've got to build a team because you cannot do this alone. Now, building a team is not like building a dodgeball team in 2nd grade where you're just picking all of your favorites, because you've got to be super intentional about that. Now, that queer family, we call each other out, which is what makes us such a cool team. It's not just about support. It's about support and challenge. Now, this is for my best friend Jean's wedding. She's the one who's standing right next to me with like that silly grin on her face. It's also toward the end of the night, so just take that into account. But this demonstrates the power of team, right? Because it's the team that you create has got to be your network of trust. You want a group of people who are going to tell you their real thoughts, no matter how much you're going to like it or not. But they're going to tell you in a way that is meaningful and loving and caring, right? Now, as an otter, if I created a team of all otters, we would have probably the most fun that anyone has ever had in their entire life, because we would play off of each other. We would support each other. We would be balls of energy. We would get zero things done. So if I just had an echo chamber of wouldn't it be cool if, and everyone was like, yeah, Drew, that would be cool if, then it would be a lot of cools, but it wouldn't do anything. So I need to create a cabinet of people who are willing to say, that would be cool if, but you know what we need to do in order to get there? So I need a lion, that's Nick. She's going to tell me where I need to go and how I need to get there. I need a beaver who's going to actually take apart and process those things with me. And they're going to make me slow down in order to totally understand what that is and how that works. And that's Liz. And then sometimes I'm going to need somebody to just wrap their arms around me. Remember when we could give hugs? Yeah. Wrap their arms around me and tell me that everything is going to be okay, because sometimes I'm going to feel really low and sad. And that's Ruth, right? You got to find the people who are going to balance support and challenge. All right, Mel, this one's for you. Pursue excellence, not perfection. Perfection limits your scope. It's like putting blinders on, because all you can see is one thing. You're focused entirely on one thing, doing one thing one way. And if anything else happens, it throws your world into a loop. I used to be a huge perfectionist. And then somebody said, pulled me aside, said, Drew, you can't focus on perfection. You can focus on excellence. There's a difference. Now, think about it this way. You're driving to a person's house, right? And they give you directions, or Google gives you directions. Remember when we had to like MapQuest things? Showing my age. They give you directions, you get stuck in traffic. Now you've got two options. Option one is just to sit in traffic and to keep going on the route that you know. Option two, try to find a way around it. Either way, you're probably not going to get there on time, right? Perfection, gone out the window. But you can either try to keep going down the same path that you were on, or you can try to find a way around it. When your focus is excellence, you will find a way around whatever it is, and you will have the mindset that it will be okay. You just got to get where you're going. Now, slightly different way to think about this. Malcolm Gladwell does a TED Talk about spaghetti sauce. Because why? I don't know. He's Malcolm Gladwell. He can do what he wants. So he does this TED Talk about spaghetti sauce. His friend was hired to find the perfect sauce. Now, I don't want to spoil it, but there's no perfect sauce, because we're all different. We all like different things in our spaghetti sauces. The best he could do was narrow it down to 3 categories. We like chunky, plain, and spicy. And so his friend was like, if we can make perfect sauces, if we can make excellent sauces, if we can make a better version of plain than our friends made, then we're killing it, right? So when we preserve the universals, we're doing ourselves a disservice. When we say we want the perfect spaghetti sauce, we are neglecting to understand that other people have different needs, and that sometimes we can't even describe what it is that we want or we need. So we have to understand that there are different sauces for different tastes, and that we embrace that diversity, we find our happiness. So, no more perfection. Strive for excellence. Everyone has different needs. Everyone has different wants. Everyone likes different sauce. Some people call sauce gravy. I don't understand it, but it's what it is. Speaking of Malcolm Gladwell, he's got this rule. 10,000 hours, you're an expert. 10,000 hours sounds a little intense, right? Like 10,000 hours? Holy bejesus. What have I got myself into? But here's the thing. This is me and my mom. This is me 10 years ago at 28. Also, my mom 10 years ago. She's not a time traveler. So this is when I was graduating from my master's program at Stony Brook, right? I just finished working as a hall director there at Tuscanini. Now, since then, I've worked as a hall director at Carthage College, which is in Wisconsin. I've had 3 different roles at Rotary. Now, I do not regret one thing about my career path. Every position I've ever taken has taught me a little bit about who I am and definitely where I want to go. It's put me in the right places, connect me with the right people. I'm totally into that. The thing is, though, for 20 hours a week for 10 years, that's your 10,000 hours. 20 hours a week for 10 years. Now, if you can find yourself in a position where you are spending 20 hours a week doing something that you want to be an expert in for, say, your job or outside of your job, maybe volunteering, that means that in 10 years, you are going to be an expert in that field. People are going to be calling you and saying, hey, expert in XYZ field, I have a quick question for you. Can you help me out? How cool is that? That's amazing, right? So yeah, 10,000 hours sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But if you start now, then it's going to take you no time at all. And you're going to be in your late 30s and you're going to be like, all right, cool. Although you're probably going to be in your early, I'm not going to do the math. It's going to be sad to me. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so let me ask you this. What do you want to be an expert in? Consider your strengths, consider your values. What do you want to be an expert in? Start your clock now. All right. If you're going to be an expert in something, you're going to have to use your whole brain. Now, you might be thinking, Drew, I'm using my whole brain. Like I'm a person. I'm alive. I've got it going on. You're not wrong. You are a person. You are alive, and you do have it going on. Now, chances are, though, you're not always using your whole brain. You're probably reacting a lot of times with your lizard brain or your amygdala. Now, that is a powerful thing, right? It is a thing that kind of governs those knee-jerk reactions. It is the thing when you think you have a gut feeling on something, that's your amygdala talking. Now, just because it's the amygdala and it's your first reaction doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that you haven't fully let your frontal lobe up here, which governs your, full reasoning skills, kind of catch up to that. Let me tell you a quick story. So I'd been dating this girl for about 2-3 months, and we spent a lot of time together. We texted each other all the time. It was really fun. We were having a great time, right? And then I went on this really big work trip, which is just take a pause and remember taking trips. But went on this work trip for 2 weeks out to San Diego. And the team that I was on, we worked 14, 16-hour days for literally 14 days in a row. No weekends. It's this very intense assignment. It's very volunteer heavy. You're on your feet all day. You're walking around. So toward the end of the second week, I was gassed. I had almost nothing left in the tank. My lizard brain was like on fire, essentially. That's all I was doing. So I'm in the lobby of this hotel, and I'm surrounded by conference participants. I'm pushing a little work cart, and people are just coming at me and asking me tons of questions. And I get a text. I look at it, something very sweet and very supportive. I answer, put my phone in my pocket, keep doing these things. And then I, finally get a break, I pull out my phone, and I see that she has responded, really? Question mark? Like on the on the lock screen. I was like, oh, what did I say? And I looked and I said, man, I love you. Oops. Okay. And she, being the sweetheart that she is, was like, hey, I know that you're super stressed. I know that, you know, all the things are happening. Do you want to take this back? Like, I can just, you know, I could pretend that it didn't happen. It's totally fine. And I was like, listen, my lizard brain, which I literally said, my lizard brain just told you that I love you. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that I didn't think about it. So no, I'm not going to take it back, but I'm totally fine if you think that maybe you're not ready. Totally cool. And she was like, no, I'm totally ready. And then 2 years later, we're still together. So lizard brain for the win. But you know, just maybe let your frontal lobe pitch in every once in a while so that you're not texting people that you love them all the time, or do, and you know, hopefully it works out for you. But yeah, also for the record, this takes milliseconds. Like, I'm not asking you to wait like years, just like a few seconds. Just let your brain catch up. Use your whole brain. Slow down, check your emotions, and really think about being mindful. Mindful is intention, it's presence, and it's willingness to restart if that's necessary. We're rounding out. We got this. In order to figure out what you want to do, you have to say no. Now, I call this trim the fat because one of my mentors used to tell me, you got to take the fat off the steak. Listen, I'm not really into steak. It's okay, but like, it's not my jam. But I understand the concept. If you have a big piece of steak, if you trim the fat off that steak, you're going to get a better cut of meat, right? So his point was, you got to learn to say no, because everything's coming at you. As student leaders, you are asked to do a ton of things. And because you want the experience, and because you don't want to say no, and because you want the opportunities in the end, you keep saying yes. But that means that you end up with a lot on your plate. And the thing is, if you spend your whole life trying to be good at everything, you're never going to be great at anything. So you got to figure out about what you want to be great at. What aligns with your values? What aligns with your strengths? What do you want to be an expert in? Those are the things that you say yes to. Those are the pieces that are most important. So trim the ones that you're not using effectively, or putting enough time into, or that you've just said yes because you felt like you had to, right? Two things that I've learned when it comes to this. How good are our yeses when we can't say no? If we are saying 10 yeses, that means at best we can give 10% to each of those yeses. But if we can cut that in half, we can say yes to 5 things, we can double our impact. If you can cut it down further, your impact goes up. This is the other one I really like. If it doesn't make you say hell yes, you gotta say no. If that gut reaction is not hell yes, I want to do that, then it is a no. Because here's the other piece. Your hell yes, if you're saying just sort of yes, sort of yes, you're probably taking someone else's hell yes away. Because you taking that opportunity is taking it away from someone else. So learn to say no so that you can give yourself a break and lift other people up, right? Okay. In my current life, this is the thing that hits the hardest. Now, at this point, you're probably like, what do you mean sometimes you gotta dance? I think you've lost it. You might be true on that last one, but this is a real thing. I've mentioned that I'm building a new product at Rotary. And as you may imagine, building a new product involves a lot of people from a lot of teams. And to say it's been a learning experience would be the understatement of my life. Everyone has their say, everyone has their priorities, everyone's got something to contribute, and it means that a lot of our meetings are just bonkers. So it's led to a lot of uncomfortable meetings, which is where we need to know our role. Now, think back to high school or middle school, or sometimes that you had chaperones at dances. I had chaperones at dances because I went to a Catholic, an all-girls Catholic school, and we brought in like all boys schools, so there were chaperones like everywhere, and I felt like they had eyes on the back of their heads, right? Hashtag leave room for the Holy Spirit. So the reason that there were chaperones, felt like there were chaperones everywhere, is because some of them were on the balcony and some of them were on the dance floor, right? Now, if you use this kind of framework theoretically, you've got the chaperones on the dance floor who are watching to make sure what's happening on the dance floor is going well. And then you've got the people on the balcony who can see the whole picture. Now, if you're in a meeting, we have actually started like assigning people dance floor and assigning people balcony in our meeting invites. I'm being 100% like 100% real with you right now. Dance floor, Drew. Balcony, Brienne. Now, what does that mean? It means that whoever's going to be doing the most talking in the meeting, whoever's going to be making the decisions, whoever's going to be in it to win it in that meeting, they're on the they're on the dance floor. Whoever's going to be the advisor, they're going to be the ones on the balcony. They see the whole picture, whereas the dance floor people, they just see what's going on. Now, the important piece here is no matter where you're at, you have to be open to feedback, right? If you're on the dance floor, it doesn't mean that you're responsible for everything. If you're on the balcony, it doesn't mean that you can just check out. It means that you have to know your role and figure out where and how you can best lead the team. As a leader, you know how things work better than anyone else does. You know the project, you know the team. So figure out if you're going to be in the thick of it or if you're going to be the advisor. Totally cool either way. You just got to pick one. Lastly, you got to find your balance, right? A long time ago, I asked my friend Heidi, technically asked all of Facebook, all of my hive mind on Facebook. But Heidi is the first person who answered. I said, I'm giving a presentation to student leaders. This is back in my Carthage days. What piece of advice would you give? And she said 3 words: always bring snacks. And I was like, yeah, you are 100% right, Heidi. But also, this is a microcosm of caring for yourself. You are only as good as you can be when you are feeling good, right? So think positively, get moving. You know, I just heard the other day that the reason a walk feels so good when you are feeling so stressed is because it is your brain thinking that you are essentially flighting. Like your brain has the fight or flight response when you're stressed. So when you take a walk, your brain's like, oh, cool, we're flighting. No worries. And it calms yourself down, right? So you don't have to go for a long walk, just go for a little walk. Or, you know, get a bike. Good luck getting a bike, by the way. There's like a national bike shortage, but like get a bike, go for a walk, go for a run, just go somewhere, get moving, get your blood flowing. That is key to just getting some new perspective in there, right? Stay strong, worry less, loved often, find and be happy. You know, you do you, boo. It's just as simple as that. Now, as a recap here, these are the 10. I'm not expecting you to know all of these immediately, but I'm hoping that one of these maybe hit you in the right way today and that you're able to work on a piece of this, right? Now, be patient because something that you want to look like this might actually look like this for a little while. Eh, totally fine. But just give yourself the patience to grow as a leader. Think about your strengths, think about your values, and figure out where you want to go. Start putting yourself into a direction, and as long as that direction is based on your values, You will not go wrong. All right. Now, if you want to keep connected, I'm on Instagram as @thedruzel, which Druzel was my college login name, just for the record. I mentioned that I like to play Pokemon, so like if you play Pokemon, like this is my trainer code, so you could like be friends with me and then we could complete research tasks and like that could be a cool thing. But like, you know, just no worries. I also have an email address. If you want to stay connected via email, totally fine. All of my graphics came from the Noun project. You should check that out if you're into cool graphics. And this presentation platform came from Slides Carnival, so you should check them out. They have a lot of cool stuff too. And you know, with the last few minutes, I'm totally open to any questions that anyone has. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of pass it back to Mel and Melissa and see where we go from there. Okay, I'm gonna stop my share. There we go.
Awesome, thank you so much. Anyone have any questions? That was really great. Lots to think about. Personally for myself, I think I need numbers 1 through 10 in my life, but that's fine. Awesome. Looks like everyone's enjoying it. So if there's any questions, definitely put it in the chat, or if you want to hang back for a few minutes, I think, Drew, if you don't mind just hanging here just for a couple minutes. If not, let's make sure, hold on, let me just, if you want to use the QR code. This is how you're going to get to your next 2 breakout sessions. So go to the link that I either put in the chat if you want to use the bit.ly or the QR code. See what sessions are being offered next for breakout session 1. Click on that Zoom link and go enjoy. After that, you're going to do the same thing for breakout 2. And then just come back here for some closing remarks. Arlene, you have a question?
Yeah, hi. I have a question
Yeah.
for Drew. This was a really great presentation, like for leadership, and like definitely encompassed like everything I'm thinking about, and like how to, and the golden, like the test, it really like, put me like, oh, I'm a golden retriever. Like, okay, I need to find. So it was very helpful. I really enjoyed it. So I just have a quick question of like, how, do you have any tips of like learning to say no? Like the way that you said, if it's not a hell yes, like that means that you're not for it. And the way that you put it for perspective, like you're taking it away from someone, really like helped me put that into like a different perspective. So I was wondering if you have any other good tips for how to say no.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that feedback, and you raise a very good question. Look, saying no is it's really hard. As I mentioned, I'm 38, and I'm still struggling with saying no because I feel a lot of pressure to say yes. So one of the things that I tend to do if I don't want to say yes is I have a conversation with the person who's asking me to do the thing about who else might be really good for that particular opportunity, right? So say it is another project at work. I might say, so what are the skills that are needed in order to accomplish this project? And then think and brainstorm some other folks who I think might be really good for that. And then if that person says, no, Drew, I really need you specifically to do this, then I might say, okay, do you mind if I pull someone else in with me and kind of share and delegate some of these things that are going on? And then if they say, you know what, nope, I really need just you, then I'm like, okay, then this must be a project for just me. But just kind of walking through and being a little bit honest and being a little bit vulnerable to say, I've got a lot on my plate right now. Is there a way that someone else could do this, right? You're not just saying no and then walking away. You're saying no, but you're also providing an opportunity for them to ask for something more.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Anyone else have anything? Any other questions?
Yeah, Drew, I actually have a question.
Sure.
Well, one, thank you for the presentation.
Of course.
But I mean, throughout your journey, how did you find your style? Did you find mentors? Did you read books, listen to others?
Yeah, a little bit of all of those things, and also a lot of trial and error. So one of the great things about having a mentor is that that person was able to kind of help me with my boundaries, right? So as you can tell, I'm a pretty energetic and very kind of like flamboyant personality, right? So there are days where I'm kind of like off the charts and I'm kind of like bouncing off the walls. And it was my mentor who was able to say, hey, I really appreciate your energy, but you got to rein that in sometimes. And you got to just be a little bit more professional in how you're presenting yourself, in the way that you're speaking, in this. You don't have to swing the other direction, but you need to find kind of that middle ground and that middle balance. There's a couple of leadership workbooks that I think are really helpful. That I can give to Mel. I can give those names to Mel and then have her kind of distribute or put on a site somewhere. But a lot of just being really open to feedback, and kind of creating that team that I was talking about to say like, hey, how am I doing? And then getting that good positive feedback and sometimes pretty critical feedback, and remembering that it's, purposeful, not personal. Cool. Anyone else?
Hold on, I'm muted. Hello.
Oh, hey.
Thank you so much, Drew.